Hi, I'm John Hooms. I'm the CEO and Artistic Director of the Nashville Opera, and I want to welcome you here to another HBCU Masterclass. This is going to be a really terrific class on German repertoire. I want to thank first our project partners, Tennessee State University, Dr. Robert Elliott, Head of Music Department, Fisk University, and the 105 Voices of History Choir, made up of singers from each one of the historically Black colleges and universities in the nation. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors who are making this possible. Thank you to the National Endowment for the Arts, to Opera America Innovation Grant and the Ann and Gordon Getty Foundation. Thank you to South Arts and also the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. I want to thank in advance Dr. Daryl Nettles for his expert accompaniment for the singers today. I also want to give a special thanks to Dr. Jeffrey Tackett of Tennessee State University for his tech support. And as always, a special thank you to our project manager, Patrick Daly. So we have a wonderful guest teaching artist here today. I want to tell you a little bit about him. American singer-conductor Nathan Deshawn Myers has established himself as a versatile artist with international appeal. His professional experience includes opera, jazz, gospel, pops, choral music, opera conducting, and private voice instruction. He has worked with opera companies and orchestras throughout the United States and across Europe, including Amalfi Coast Music Festival, Deutsche Opera Berlin, Opera Louisiane, the Lyric Opera of Chicago, Dallas Opera, Des Moines Metro Opera, Central City Opera, Berlin Staatsopera, Chautauqua Opera, and the Pittsburgh Symphony. His Carnegie Hall solo debut included a collection of spirituals arranged expressly for his voice, commissioned by the Albany Symphony. During the summer of 2018, Myers recreated his role as Julian in the South African premiere of the American opera Waiting Home. Having collaborated with notable artists such as Kristen Chenoweth, Maurice Brown, and Tamala Mann, Myers maintains a national and international presence in the gospel and jazz world as well. He released his debut urban gospel album, Making a Way, in 2014, and was a member of the recording ensemble for Kirk Franklin's Grammy Award-winning album, Losing My Religion, in 2015. A lot of great accomplishments. And please welcome Nathan Deshawn Myers. Thank you for being here, Nathan.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And now I would like to turn the masterclass over to our project manager, Patrick Daly.
Good evening, and it is wonderful that for you all to join us today, and we are so glad to have Professor Nathan Deshawn Myers with us. First, we will be having Miss Alicia Stone.
Hi, my name is Alicia Stone, and I'll be singing On Chloe by Mozart. Excuse me.
Aus deinen blauen Himmel offenen Augen sieht und willst hinein zu schauen, mir's in Herzen klopft und glüht, und ich halte dich und küsse deine rosenwangen Liebst Mädchen, und ich schließe sie dich in meinen Arm, in meinen Arm, in meinen Arm. Mädchen, Mädchen, und ich drücke dich an meinen Busen fest, der im letzten Augenblicke sterbend nur
Beautiful job. Beautiful job. Thank you so much. I normally in my class, if I'm doing a master class in my studio, I just have everybody do a little snaps and claps, right? So that's a great way to do that since we can't really hear the applause. But awesome job. And I want to pronounce your name correctly, Alicia.
Elisha.
Elisha. Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so Elisha, you know what I enjoyed about that? There was a clear direction for your musicality, right? So you're making some really beautiful, bold choices, and I really appreciate that. The only thing that I want you to think about as you're going through is how you might manage some of the vowels as we go through to make sure that we stay in alignment and keep the air flowing, right? You know, particularly as you're going up to the top of the voice and you're going sort of up and over those sort of mountains of phrases, right? You want to keep that inertia going. So I'd love to just start really quickly at the beginning, and maybe we will just use 2.5 measures or so before you come in. So it would be the fourth full measure.
Okay.
Wenn die Liebe aus deinen Worten in offenen Augen sieht und willst hineinzuschauen, wie's im Herzen klopft und geht.
Okay, there. Let's stop there. Good, good, good. So what I want you to do is vendidibaus. So a lot of what we need to do to sort of help um, do the vocal Ausgleich, right? To kind of have the vowels be as close together as possible and kind of give a through line between the vowels. Can you give me a vertical embouchure right here? Vendilip, vendilip. And as you're going through all of these long notes, these repeated notes that you want to let them go somewhere. So if you would allow the momentum to build through each time you sing those B flats, right? And you have these beautiful those vowels there. Use that for your benefit and send that air right on through. Can you do that a little bit more legato from the same spot, please?
Okay.
Wenn die Liebe aus deinen Worten
Okay. Nice, 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 nice. What I'd like you to do is, even though I know that you are looking at the dynamics and you're quite good at sort of adhering to them, I'd like for you to think of the dynamics rather than a decibel level, think of them as a color, because I think right now you might be singing a little too timidly to get the core of the sound going at the beginning, right? So give yourself a little bit of license to just lean into those first notes there. So that we get the core of the sound and we get the natural vibrato kind of activating because we've really given all the energy necessary. Okay. Start it one more time.
Wenn die Liebe aus deinen Worten in offenen Augen sieht und willst hineinzuschauen, wie's im Herzen klopft und geht.
Okay, good. Start right there once again. I'm wanting to kind of give you a little bit of these setup types of things because throughout the whole piece, you're going to need to do this same concept, right? So I'm trying to see if we can get them going on these first couple of phrases and then keep them going as you go through, right? So the concept of legato and sort of being generous with the flow of air is going to be extremely helpful, right? And so you're preparing for the E flat. You right? You want to go all the way over that. So don't think of that as a stopping point. You're still going through that. Does that make sense? So that you don't stop the air. Okay. The other thing that I want you to think about is the double consonants that exist here. Okay. So you can use them as an expressive tool. So you get wenn die Lieb aus deinem blauen hellen. So you can actually sing a little bit through those L's. Helen, okay? And then often, okay? Can you do that once again? And then we'll move on from there, okay? But give me lots of energy in those consonants as you're adding that legato in, all right?
Okay.
Once again.
Wenn die Liebe aus deinen blauen, hellen, offenen Augen sieht und will Lust allein zu sein, wie's im Herzen klopft und glüht.
Keep going.
Und ich halte dich und küsse deine Rosenwangen warm.
Okay, wonderful. Let's do that. Let's do that phrase again, and maybe we will just be able to do that bar on. I guess if you guys have the same page numbers, it would be page 65, second bar at the top of the page. So for the accompaniment, will come in there, and you're at und ich halte dich. Okay. So what I want you to think about is each one of these words has a specific, stress, right? Right? So you have und ich halte dich und küsse deine Rosenwangen warm. Okay? Make sure that you're leading right through that. Don't when you're on that G on Rosenwangen, right? When you're on that, could you give that a little bit of a stretch there so that we don't get tight when we get up there, that we really allow everything to bloom as we're going over the top of the hill? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so give in to the natural crescendo. Don't try to hold it back. There's a natural crescendo that happens with this constant raising of the melody, right? So can we start that und ich halte?
Und ich halte dich und küsse deine Rosenwangen warm.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Can you do that again? And I want you to really allow these skips and leaps that are happening to really be laced with portamento, right? And not necessarily this. We're going to try something, and it's kind of in gross exaggeration, but I want to see if we can try it, and then we can relax it a bit, and we'll end up with what hopes to be a legato line a little bit more for you, okay? Because you don't want to pick it up and then break it down, pick it up, drop it down for all of these different notes. You want to keep it on the same groove, okay? So can we start right there again at the G, und ich halte? Und ich. So don't cheat those little notes. Und ich halte. Right? Stabilize those bottom notes just as much as you want to do that for the top, okay? All right, let's go.
Und ich halte dich und küsse deine Rosenwangen warm.
Okay, so that was much better. And I can tell that you're sort of giving yourself over to the idea of letting the crescendo naturally happen and not try to hold it back, right? So the Rosenwangen was much better, right? So here's the thing that I want you to think about. As you're going through this, really allow yourself to tie these vowels to each other. So imagine you're singing vowel to vowel to vowel. Right? You get what I mean? Go right into that. Okay. The other thing I want you to think about, and this is a breath support sort of thing, right? How you manage your air. What I'm noticing is that there's a bit of a pull in as you're going for the top note. And what I want you to do is, I agree with this sort of this tuck in the very underside, right? The very low pelvic area, right? You want to have that engaged, but when you're getting ready to go up, you want to expand down and out so that you have this isometric pressure rather than this only. You get what I mean? You need to have this happening so that so at the same time you're having this downward and to the side expansion, which you would feel at 360, right? And you have this yawn opening. So you have two different directions of opening and engagement at the same time. Okay. So can you do that for me? And this time I want you to see if we can just give yourself an external kind of idea of can you give me some energy going down and out this way. So engage your core. Okay, can you do that for me? Let's start right there again.
Und ich halte dich und küsse deine Rosenwangen nur.
Okay, much better, much better. What I would suggest is that you try to, let's see if we can do this without taking that breath. Now, this might be a goal for later on, but I really would love for you to see if you can do those 4 measures essentially in one breath. Mm-hmm.
Und ich halte dich und küsse deine Rosenwangen nur.
Okay, that was closer. That was closer. And so what you want to do is when you're getting to the top, go this way instead of, okay, do that. And then we're going to go right on. Okay.
Und ich halte dich und küsse deine Rosenwangen nur. Liebes Mädchen, und ich schließe sie und mich in meinen Arm, in meinen Arm, in meinen Arm.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So a couple of things here with the diction. Und ich schließe. So you want to, yeah, two S's though. Schließe. So you're going to have to sort of energize those S's so that we get 2 of them. Okay. And then you have zittert. Zittert. Do you know what that word means?
I forgot.
Okay, so here's one of the things I want to kind of challenge you on, right? As you're working through this, it's going to be very helpful, to be aware of exactly what each one of these words means, right? Because just like in your mother tongue, English, I'm supposing, right? You would be able to color each word based off of your understanding of the meaning of the word, right? And so that way your interpretation is not stuck with the way you were coached, but it is free so that in the mood of the moment you can respond to your energy and respond to the story in a sort of discovery every time. Does that make sense?
Yes,
So
sir.
that you have a real reason. It's kind of the difference between, okay, someone tells you in a stage production, you walk from this side of the stage to that side of the stage, and they just say, just do that. And you can get really good at doing that, but then you have no flexibility because you have very little understanding of why you're doing it, right? So good. So the other thing that I want you to think of is there's a vowel that sort of loses a clarity in your voice right now, and it's sort of when you go towards a more open vowel like an ah vowel or something like this, it sort of fuzzes out. What I like to call it kind of fuzzes out. So I'd like to challenge you to really keep your support going so that you can keep those sounds very focused. Okay. Can we do that from Liebes Mädchen, second system of page 65?
Liebes Mädchen, und ich schließe sittend dich in meinen Arm, in meinen Arm, in meinen Arm.
Keep going.
Mädchen, und ich trüge dich an meinen Busen fest, der im letzten Augenblicke sterbend nur die Wahnsinn bläst.
Okay.
Der braust.
Let's start right there. Sorry about that. Good work there. But I'm curious to know, for you, did you recognize that you said sterben? Did you recognize that you chose 2 different vowels there? Is there a reason for it for yourself?
I knew that was kind of a slight mistake because in trying to the sterbend in the chest more of in the chest voice, I changed. I noticed I changed how the E was pronounced in that word.
Yeah, and I think you can afford to get those pronounced exactly the same, and there is a bit of wiggle room, just like in Italian, with choices about how the E vowel is always kind of a weird one. Is it
Yeah.
open? Is it closed? Is it more open or more closed? And it just depends on the region. It depends on where it is in the voice.
Yeah.
You know, what I tend to do is I tend to advise my students to go a little bit more towards the closed version of the vowel, particularly in certain areas like passaggio areas, right?
Hmm.
And so in that lower voice area, right on that E flat, I can imagine that it would make more sense or feel easier for you to do it in a more closed version, right?
Yeah.
So if we were to go from Mädchen, and here's what I think you can do to kind of layer on top of this to make this even better, is to really give a lot of energy to these consonants. Mädchen, Mädchen, Mädchen und ich drücke. Right? Make sure that you really give a lot of energy to the consonants where you can. Okay. So
Okay.
can we start that same place? Pick up to the last system on page 65.
Mädchen, Mädchen, und ich drücke dich an meinen Busen fest, der im letzten Augenblicke sterbend nur die Wahnsinn fest.
Okay. Stop. Can you go back and let's make that sterben a little bit closed. Yeah. Sterben. Okay. Well, let's do the pickups to 66. Der im letzten Augenblicke.
This is your 2-minute warning.
Thank you.
Der im letzten Augenblicke sterbend nur die Wahnsinn ist.
Okay. As you do this, these big jumps are going to be very important, because what happens is that as you're going up, you lose a bit of the grounding and it gets a bit fuzzy, right? So can you just go from the E flat to the E flat, the octave there, and actually give yourself an opportunity to use your body in a way that allows you to ground this sound as you're going up. So try that again. Just the vowel. Okay, so did you feel yourself kind of tighten up and everything in your body kind of went up on you? What I would suggest is you allow that to go down. Let everything go down. So okay, so what's necessary here is for the air to flow, and you're sort of tensing up, which is slowing down that airflow, which makes it a little bit harder to let that to stabilize that sound. Just give yourself the why don't you try this for yourself, a little deep knee bend. Okay, just straight down as you're going up. So thinking about counterbalancing the opening and the support as you go up deeper into it. Okay, go.
No.
Okay, so instead of bending forward, go straight down, sort of like a plie. Once again, because what you're doing is you're using your core to stabilize you. We're just trying to activate your core a little bit more. Try that again. Could you do that in a way that's not a punching, but just kind of a glide down so that it is across the whole thing, right? Try it again. Okay, so what you're physically doing there is that you're coming up and you are not done with the note. Did you notice that? And so I want to say to you, as you're singing these notes, make sure that you're not treating them sort of like a bell, but you're treating them like a bow and string, so that you have to keep providing that energy there. Okay. Great to hear you. Wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Thank you, Professor Myers. And now we will have Mr. David Heary.
Hello, my name is David Heary. I will sing Andi Musik, composed by Franz Schubert. Hast du mein Herz zu verlieben schon? Hast du bessere Welt in eine bessere Welt? Oft hat ein Soße da, auf ein Floß, ein süßer, heiliger Akkord von dir. Den Himmel Seiten mir erschlossen, so der Kunsita geht auf mir, do der Kunsita
Good job. So David, can you tell me in your words, what does this song mean to you?
In my own words, from my understanding, um, from the composer's perspective, I think the song related to how music makes him feel. But for me personally, yes, basically how on music, how it translates to how music makes you feel. Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, this is kind of a you can look at it in several different ways, right? It's a testimony to how music has sort of gotten you through, how through gray or dark times, how music has really picked you up and transported you to another space, to a better time or better feeling, right? And so do you find music to be that type of thing for you, that like if you're not feeling well, do you sing or do you play music to lift your spirits or anything like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I want you to do is two things. I'm going to challenge you the same way that I did Alicia, and I want you to make certain that you go through and translate each one of these words. It's going to give you so much more authority, and the sooner you practice doing that, that's going to be a great habit to develop, because then it allows you to take your understanding of the words and give you this freedom of expression. Okay, so you're saying, you noble art, du holde Kunst, in how many, or in so many gray hours, you know, that when life has sort of ensnared me, you know, you have transferred my heart to a whole different place, to a better line, a better time, or a better world, right? So I want you to sort of sing that with a bit of resolve, because to sing this means that you've already gone through those very dark times, right? So part of that resolve is going to be sort of exhibited through the legato line. So I want to take away the text for a second, and I'd like for you to do this on a neutral vowel, okay? So let's start with an O. Oh, like that, okay? And I guess we could do one bar. That would be sufficient. Okay, good. So here's what I want you to do. This is an extension of the exercise we started with Alicia. I want you to do this exercise in what I like to call gross exaggeration. So you're going to do a portamento between every one of these notes. So it'll sound a little bit messy and a little bit like this. Oh. Okay. And the reason for that is I'd like for you to stay in the same groove as you're going through, instead of changing when you go from one note to the other. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I want you to activate your core, activate your support muscles, take the nice breath in. And when you go, I want you to tie these vowels together with this grossly exaggerated portamento. Just slide all over the place. Okay. Let's try it from the same spot. One bar. Okay, good, good, good. Tell me, how did that feel for you?
Um, it contributes to me like having a lot of support in the core.
Mm-hmm.
As far as connecting each note.
Okay.
A lot more support. A lot more support.
Okay. Okay. So here's the thing that I want you to think about. As you're doing this, you want to give more space. As you're going up in the voice, you want to give more space to allow that those vowels to come through, right? And not to be sort of tightened. So when you're going, so when you're doing that, release your lips so that they're not too tight. Okay. Can you do that again? Did you feel that when you did that, you said, oh, and your lips kind of tightened around your teeth? Can you release that a little bit? Oh, so instead of doing this with your lips, do this with your lips. Did you see what I did with my hands there? So instead of curling your lips over your teeth, and tightening up your embouchure, open it as you're going up higher. Okay. Instead of oh, oh, make sense? Now, as this seems a bit low for you, and so when you're in there, wo mich des Lebens wilder Kreis umstricht, when you get to that spot, can you, instead of growling or vocal frying down there, can you just support as if it's as high as the other notes that you were singing at the top of the voice? Okay. Does that make sense to you? I want you to give that same type of support on the bottom of the voice as you do on the top of the voice. Okay. All right. Can we do from Hast du mein Herz? And we're still doing oh. Good. So the last thing I want you to try to do here is I'd like for us to start from the second verse. And I want you, can you feel there's a little notch that's right there in what we call your Adam's apple, right? And it's sort of like a little V type of notch there. Can you place your finger just slightly on top of that? Okay, sideways this way, like maybe one finger. Yeah. And then I want you to swallow as if you took a drink of water. And where did you feel that move?
Once I swallowed, it raised.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. So now let's do something else. I want you to just yawn just a bit. Okay. So just do a yawn motion. Go. And what happens to it?
It lowers.
It lowers. Okay. Without going into a long, lengthy discussion about what's going on, we'll just say larynx down, beautiful sound. So in other words, we want to make sure that we have our larynx in a low, comfortable position when we're supporting the airflow out, okay? From the top to the bottom of the voice and back, right? We want to have that openness. So I want you to practice that openness. So put your hand right there again. And this time I want you to engage your core. And then I want you to take a yawn breath and feel your larynx go down. And this time you're going to take that yawn breath in the vowel, right? Oh, so we're going to just keep with this O vowel, right? Oh, okay. And your job is going to be to maintain that yawn position as you're going through all of these pitches. Okay. So let's start one bar before the second verse, and it doesn't matter. It's the same pitches for you. Okay. On O. And keep going. Keep it pure O. Oh. Okay. All right. Tell me, how did that feel?
Definitely a lot more support again.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Were you able to notice anything that you felt differently in your throat area while you had your hand there to kind of remind you to keep that larynx down?
um, I wouldn't say not much of a difference.
Got it. Got it.
I know it
Okay.
definitely lowered once I at the bottom part of my range for
Uh-huh.
the lower part.
Yeah. So
It
what
stayed
did you
lower.
notice at the lower part of your range? You felt what?
It definitely it stayed lower, and I had a lot more support to make sure, um, you know, it.
It kind of stabilized the note for you, right? So can we go back and see if you can focus on this? I want you to sing this on the text again, but I want you to see if you can really make this a bit more messy. And what I mean by that is I want you to get this idea of the portamento interwoven into this so that when you're going from, the first little leap and jumps that you're doing here, that you're not picking up and sort of raising on yourself and raising that larynx to try to get to the higher pitch, but that you're keeping everything relaxed and low. Okay. All right. Let's try this again from the beginning with the text and see how much of this space that you can maintain, because you want to maintain that yawn space throughout. Okay. Let's try again. Okay. Wait. So sometimes when we're trying to get a lot of sound out, if something is too low, the vowels can change. And right now you said do da cons, right? Instead of do da cons. And it's not necessary that you sing so loud there anyway because of the dynamic markings, right? So endeavor to sing the pure ooh. So can you just sing ooh? Do you feel how low your larynx is there? Put your hand there. Ooh. Okay, do you feel it in a lower position there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you leave your hand there? And I want you to sing these vowels. Ooh, in a way that allows your larynx never to yank up on you. Okay, leave it in that lower position if you would. Okay, and engage your support to help maintain that lower relaxed position of the larynx. Okay, let's start this once again. So lots of space back there, lots of space. Real ooh. Ooh. Good. So just a second. Okay, so tell me if you were to give me the full energy of what you are trying to say here, because we have sort of an umbrella of the idea of what this piece is about, but how can you show me the gravity of this first page in terms of, okay, music has brought me through some really rough times. This is, I'm really appreciative of this. This is and come to this from a place of appreciation for the art of music. You know what I mean? Have you ever been told, you should do this like it's your last time?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So can you bring that kind of energy to this as if you are really overwhelmed with appreciation for this amazing art form that you get to participate in, that has lifted you up time and time again. Okay? show that a bit with your voice and with your commitment and your face a bit. It's a little hard to see your face from the camera, but show me a little bit more of that so that you pull us in to this very short uh, letter of appreciation to music. Okay, can we start this again and give me just a bit more energy in your interpretation of what you think these words mean? Okay.
Hast du mein Herz zu warmer Liebe entzünden, was mich in eine bessere Welt hat in eine bessere Welt hat
Okay. So what is it that for you in your mind, what did you want me to know? What did you want the audience or the listeners to know about your understanding of that? Like what was the message for you from you to us?
That it should be appreciated, that music is an art form that through tough times could be used as a tool to get you through those tough times. And I guess it kind of could be swept under the rug sometimes, but once you really realize it, music is an art form that helps you carry through trials and tribulations or tough times.
Okay. All right. So that's a very complicated idea, and I tend to agree with you on it, right? I think those things that you said about music is I agree. What I want to see is if you can utilize the meanings of these words. Like what words would stick out to you as important in each one of these phrases? You get what I mean? So if I said, du holde Kunst in wie viel grauen Stunden, of those, that one kind of phrase ish, all right, a portion of a phrase, what do you think is the most important word? Or some important words. It could be more than one for you.
Nathan, this is your 2-minute warning.
Thank you so much.
Kunst.
Kunst, okay. Now Kunst is the noun, but there's an adjective there that's before it. So I this is the thing that I want to challenge you, because you have such a beautiful voice. I think that you're going to be able to step up your performance by really digging into what these words mean so that you can pull it into a context, that makes sense for you. Because maybe when you get in a jam, maybe this is not the type of music that you might listen to. There might be another type of music that you're listening to, which is totally fine. I listen to jazz, or I might listen to gospel music to kind of pick me up or something like that. But this is kind of to the whole art. So I want you, in these last minutes or so, I'd like for you to see if you can really infuse a meaning based on your ability to bring out words. So if Kunst is the most important word to you, bring words out like that, okay? With the diction. Du holde Kunst in wie, etc., right? All right. Do we have 1 minute for him to do that first phrase?
Unfortunately not.
Okay. All right. Listen, thank you so much. Great hearing you. Great hearing you. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurry. Now we will hear Miss Alicia Hinton.
Hello, my name is Alicia Hinton, and I will be singing Ach, ich fühl's by Mozart from the magic flute. Please enjoy.
Brava, brava. So, Alicia, talk to me about this scene, just really quickly.
In this scene, Pamina is expressing her pain for, I mean, oh, right, sorry. Okay, sorry, can you hear me?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so in this scene, Pamina is expressing her pain. Tamino won't speak to her, so she's unsure if he's fallen out of love with her. It literally says, if you do not feel love's yearning, I shall choose peace in death. So she literally feels like she's gonna die if he doesn't talk to her. So this is an expression of her pain.
Yes. So what I agree with you totally. What I'd like for you to think about as an additional layer here
Mhm.
is a bit of urgency inside of that pain. You know, like there are moments that you have some urgency in what you're saying to him. You know, because
Yes.
right before this, she says, "Liebst du mich nicht mehr?" Like, you don't love me anymore? You don't love me
Right.
anymore? And he says nothing. And this is what prompts her to say this. Oh, I feel it.
Mm.
It's gone because of that silence, right? And so what I'd like for you to do is to really allow this to be sort of dual, an expression of pain but uncertainty about what's going to happen after that, after you express yourself, but then a bit of urgency to know, right? Because she
Okay.
says, fühlst du nicht die Liebe sehnen? Like, do you not feel it? Like, do you not feel it? So there needs to be a little bit of urgency, particularly when you repeat some of these phrases. The other thing, just as an overall, I would suggest that you move this aria a little bit faster for you,
Okay.
and that way you have an opportunity to give a little bit more rubato in certain spots, and you just move through. That way, everything is not so slow, but that you have a bit more meaning in the ebb and flow of the tempo in a way, right?
Okay.
So I would move this a little bit more, and that way you can take your time. So it's ach, ich fühl's, es ist verschwunden, so that on that G, you're moving through that and creating this legato line. I mean, you're floating beautifully, but I want you to be able to have some direction to those notes in the top, so that it's not just float for beauty's sake, but that you're floating with some intention of communication,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
All
Yes.
right. So can we start that again from the beginning?
Ach, ich fühl's, ist verschwunden.
Sorry, I have to just that V there is going to be an F. Verschwunden. Okay. So and here's another thing. Just as I was saying to David a second ago, each one of these words, you have an opportunity for the words to what I've often subscribed to, is this idea of the words tasting good. Even though this is a bitter sort of message, right? This is like, oh my gosh, you don't love me anymore. But you need to be able to really experience the value of each one of these words. So that ought to hit you. That's a response to his non-response, right? So let that sort of come out of a conversation rather than we're starting. But this is like this ach, ich fühl's, es ist, and tie that G to the top G. So that it really grounds itself in the lower G, and it trampolines up to the higher one as you're blooming. Okay. All right.
Ach, ich fühl's, ist verschwunden. Ewig hin der Liebe glüht.
Okay, wonderful. So this happened a few times throughout the aria. It's sort of when you have this ah or a schwa on descending notes, somehow descending intervals, you sort of let them go and they lose focus a bit for you.
Okay.
So one of the things that I would suggest, and you don't have to do this, but let's try it, and see. So it says Ewig der Liebe. So instead of der, close that vowel just a little bit. Der Liebe. Okay. Der Liebe And on the way down, don't let it go. Keep going. Because the word is Liebeglück, not Liebeglück or any other formation. It's Liebeglück. Okay. So you're headed towards that downbeat. So can you try it again? I think the beginning was nice, but just do it again to have a little bit of a run up. Okay. So when you sing that, it raises the hair on people's arms, right? Because it's such a beautifully executed sound. What I want is just a little bit deeper of the depth of why you're doing it. Because you've repeated this line twice now. You said, ewig hin der Liebeglück, ewig hin der Liebeglück, right? You want to really, like, it's eternally gone. So the first time you're saying it, and the second time you realize you said it and you're saying it again, like you feel it even deeper, in other words. So the higher pitches there, I would take those as a signal to go deeper or more intense with the emotion, which allows for it makes that rallentando a little bit more meaningful. So you say, ewig in der Liebe Glück. And then you repeat it at a higher octave. Can you just try that? Ewig. Can you start there? And give energy to that. Now you feel it even more. Sorry. Feel it even more. I'm sorry. I'm coaching. I'm running on the side of the field with you. Go ahead. So right there. Painful. Go on. You realize it's never coming back. Okay, pardon. So instead of vona, because it's kind of coming across with a couple of vowels there. So von. Yeah, you're going von. So just be aware that when you're wanting to have purity in your vowels, you have to make sure that you maintain a purity in the embouchure. So in other words, the embouchure that you choose, and sometimes that embouchure includes, a lip shape and or a tongue shape, et cetera, you need to commit to that shape all the way through the duration of that note, or else you're going to change the vowel, even a little bit. So instead of von, right? Von, right? So that you keep von. Okay. So can we start right at that bar there? Nimmer kommt. Zurück. Okay. All right. So one of the things that I would say to you is this whole meinem Herzen right after the nimmer. So the vonna wasn't quite there. Think of it as an open O. Von. von, okay, and go right to the end so that you can have that double on the end, okay?
Okay.
And then Stunden, okay? I tend to do the ending consonants or the ending syllables there with an open air, Stunden, because it keeps it up instead of going Stunden, okay? And then when you're getting ready to do the ah vowel on that minor, you need to really allow yourself to go all the way into your support. Okay, so the B flat, minor, right? So that you're creating a bit of tension in that chromaticism. Okay, so use that chromaticism to create the tension that's going to, oh my gosh, it's never going to return. So you're stretching out this idea of never going to return. So try that for yourself. Can we do that phrase once again, and then I'll let you go on.
I believe it's
Oh, I'm so sorry. We'll do the same thing. So it is on the first page of the aria, right in the bar of Nimmer kommt. Sorry. Mhm. Okay, good. So two things. I'm sorry. Did I? I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, good. Two things. I'm sorry. Maybe my internet kind of slowed down. I would like for you to exploit a vertical embouchure. So when you have tamino, can you do that? And also when you're going down, just remember that you have to keep the same energy going and the same support going as you're lowering the pitches or as you're coming down a scale or any of that as you do going up, because you're ascending, they're always well supported. It's coming down, particularly on the ends of phrases and things like that. Just make sure you keep that energy going. Can we start at Z tamino? Second page, the second system. Okay. So can you make something out of that? So fühlst du nicht der Liebe sehnen? So really give me a bit of longing. Okay. So in that word, because you really have the opportunity to really be expressive there, right? And so also the first time when you have zitamino, I'd like for you to make sure that you're singing the ta, the ah vowel, a little bit longer, even though it's a short note there. It's just an eighth note, but think of it as a longer eighth note so that you're not rushing to the M of tamino, but tamino. Does that make sense? Do you hear the difference of that? Okay. Can we start at that same spot? And here's the other thing. As you're going through, diese Tränen fließen. So they're like these tears are sort of flooding or flowing, right? Can you see? So you're trying to get his attention through even more histrionics. So can you start right there and just plead with him? Where do you put him on the stage for yourself? Where do you put him in the space? Do you put him straight out in front of you? Do you put him off to the side? Okay. All right. So plead with him. Say, look, Look, Tamino. Okay, same spot, second system of the second page. Okay. Okay. You're doing some beautiful things, but we got to make sure we don't breathe in between a word. Okay. So you can plan the breath in some other place. I think if you allow yourself to move through zo vid ru zo. So take a nice breath before the C sharp and doing that chromaticism so that you can really exercise that same kind of idea of stretching. Right? So zovitru. So it's like this chromaticism that's going down. It's almost like you're sort of, I think of it as sort of like the idea of going down into the grave, right? So try that again. Let's see if we can do dear line. Now, I want you to try something. You're doing the grace notes in one way, and I've heard them in different ways. So can you do them a little bit longer? Instead of doing them as a 16th note, do them as like an 8th note. Dear line. Right?
Okay.
Just try that and see how that feels to sort of stretch that just a little bit coming across the bar line. Okay? Oh, even more. That was great. That was great. So when you do that, make sure that that's a bit of a portamento. Dear line. So there's a little bit of pain that's in that, right? Because you're saying these tears, look at these tears, they're for you alone. They're for you alone. Okay, so try that again. Just see if you just play with it. Breathe. So you would breathe then probably right after ru if you need it. Because right now you're trying to not breathe after ru. You're trying to not breathe after ru, and you need to probably. Okay. Otherwise, I would suggest moving through just a little bit on zo vit ru. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Can you start right at the zo vit ru bottom of that page? Okay. So when you get to the Fist du nicht, der Liebe See, make sure that A flat is not the end of what you intend to do. So it's Fist du nicht, der Liebe See, and keep going.
Okay.
Okay, do that again.
Nathan, 2-minute warning.
Okay, thank you. Can you start right there at Okay, we only have a minute probably right now, but can you do something for me? Again, you need to make a decision about that Ruhe so wird Ruhe im Tode sein, right? Make a decision about that so that you can really maximize the beauty of that, because you don't want to interrupt that with a breath in the middle of a word. But if you go to the last pickup of that, so wird Ruhe, can you start that with less opening in the front, lots of opening in the back, and that way you crescendo, and as you crescendo, open up your mouth vertically. Can we start right there? Awesome, awesome. Beautiful voice, beautiful voice. Great work.
Thank you, Ms. Hinton. Thank you, Professor Myers. So now we are at time for Q&A. And so I'm going to invite the cohort, our students that are on, and there, see a couple of them there. So y'all go ahead and come up on screen, and we can begin our Q&A portion, and we can talk with Mr. Myers about all of the things. Come on up. All right, you all. So just don't be shy. If you have any questions, just unmute or raise your hand. Okay, I see we're already ready. Off to the races. Kendall.
Hello, sir. My name is Kendall Warner. I am a student at Tennessee State University. I just wanted to ask, as far as you being successful both in the classical genre and in the gospel genre, how do you feel like those experiences complement and aid each other?
Oh, wonderful question. And I have to say that in the beginning, I didn't really know exactly how they would work together. I just knew that the freedom and connection to the text, connection to the messaging, and the sort of familiarity of gospel music allowed me the space to really engage my body. Because in the kind of church that I grew up in, you know, we didn't use hymnals or sheet music. We just really were kind of flat foot gospel singing. And so it really, a lot of my sort of artists that I looked up to included James Moore, who had a very classical approach to his tenor voice. John P. Key, who has a very classical approach to the way he lets his voice turn. And Daryl Coley as well. So when you listen to singers like that, they exemplified the kind of use of the instrument that was very helpful and useful in terms of just allowing myself to let the air flow to get into the voice for classical music. So a lot of it has to do with sort of the investment into the freedom and the physicality of singing, so that it wasn't sort of half voice or half bodied singing, but full bodied singing. I hope that's helpful. Yeah, thank you for that question.
That was a adequate answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it looks like we have Mr. Khalil McCarthy. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Khalil McCarthy, and I was wondering if you had any other tips about singing foreign language or German when dealing with vowel placement. I know with Alicia, you were telling her to keep more of a tall space rather than spread out wide. And my voice teacher has taught me that as well. But I know with some vowels, such as the E vowel, it can be like very hard to keep that tall vowel when reaching when going for those high notes. So I was wondering if there are any other tips you suggest?
Well, yes, there is. Thank you for the question. You know, the E vowel is a tricky one because it always gets us this way if we're not careful. And getting us sort of wall to wall instead of floor to ceiling causes a bit of stress that happens right here. You get tension in your throat and you get tension in your chin and your jaw, all of these kinds of things. And essentially, anytime you have tension in any part of the vocal apparatus, whether you're too tight in the abdomen area, or you're tight in the throat, or your shoulders are tight, or any of those things, it causes the airflow to be tight or to be rigid in a way, right? And that works a bit against you. So part of the thing that I teach my students is sort of the production of that purity of the E vowel, because the E vowel belongs in the family of tongue vowels, right? And so if you allow your tongue to relax, so that the base of the tongue and the back of the tongue is relaxed, so that you're not yanking up the larynx, but you're relaxing and allowing for that to happen. If you watch some singers, many singers professionally, when they're going really high in the top of the voice, that tongue sort of goes like this, right? And the reason for that is to really relax that larynx down, and to keep, say for instance, if I also often think about this as, piano hands, right? When you're sitting at the piano, you don't want your hands stretched out like this, right? You want them kind of relaxed like that. So if you think of that in terms of the tongue position, that every time you're looking for space this way rather than this way. So a tip to help you with that could be to have any number of sort of guides for yourself. So that you're resisting the temptation to go E, right? I have my students do things like that, or I have my students do things like this to kind of relax the jaw. Would you try that since you asked the question? Go ahead, let's try it. Go. Okay, now when you did that, are you aware of where your tongue is?
Yeah, I felt it kind of go back down with the larynx. It was more like.
So here's the thing that I want you to be aware of, because this can be a tricky thing to explain. Making sure that when you retract the tongue in this position, that you're not applying pressure to the back or the base of the tongue, or else you're going to really create more blockage of the air passageway back there. Okay. So in the back of your throat, you need to still be exploring this yawn space as you have this tongue in that very closed position, right? And the closed is talking about the space between the tongue and the hard palate, not the soft palate, but the hard palate. Okay. All right. I hope it's hard to not get too deep into the technical aspect of it, but hopefully that's helpful. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great.
And we have another question from Mr. Beatty.
Hi, my name is Isaiah Beatty. First off, let me thank you so much for the information that you just provided based off of Mr. McCarthy's response. That right there, that was so beneficial. I wish I could hear more. I heard in the bio that Mr. Holmes was saying that you're well versed in jazz, classical, and gospel. I someday have hopes to be that well versed. But would you recommend like any tips? Because I would assume that you would. Well, yeah, you would have to use different techniques for each genre. How do you do that? Like, is it a switch off or switch on? Like, do you have any tips that you would recommend concerning that?
Yes, that's a really wonderful question. And essentially, I have to say it like this: singing is singing, right? So what you're basically managing is the airflow. You're managing the flow of air. And the big differential between styles or genres is essentially, in my opinion, diction. The difference between "and I will always love you," that sounds like one style. "And I will always love you," sounds like another style, right? Or if you twisted the vowels in a different way, you'd get multiple versions of different styles, right? And so I would say that essentially I'm using the instrument in the same way. Essentially, I am supporting the airflow and I'm manipulating the vowels in terms of the diction to support the genre that I'm singing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because the ultimate goal is freedom all the time. You want to have air flowing freely through your throat as you produce these sounds. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you.
Professor Myers, thank you so much for being here with us and being a part of this masterclass. We all appreciate it very, very much. I just want to say a special thanks.
Well, thank you, and thank all of you who are involved. Professor Daly, thank you so much for providing these beautiful students from Fisk and from Tennessee State and to Nashville Opera. Thank you all for the opportunity. It's been lovely hearing you all. I wish you all the best.
Well, and I hope everyone enjoyed this masterclass, all of you listening in and watching on YouTube. I want to say a thanks to our project partners, Tennessee State University, Dr. Robert Elliott, Head of Music Department, Fisk University, and the 105 Voices of History Choir. I want to thank our sponsors for making this possible. Thank you to the National Endowment for the Arts, Opera America Innovation Grant, and the Ann and Gordon Getty Foundation. Thank you to South Arts and the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. I want to say a thank you to Dr. Daryl Nettles for being at the piano today for us. Thank you to Dr. Jeffrey Tackett of Tennessee State University for tech support. And as always, a special thanks to our project manager, Patrick Daly. Thank you, Patrick. This is John Hooms. I am the artistic director and CEO of Nashville Opera. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next month. And thank you again, Professor Myers. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hope you'll come back next month and watch.